What's up, guys? Welcome to a review of Her Loss by Drake and / featuring 21 Savage. So coming off of CLB and Honestly Nevermind, I honestly didn't know what to expect from Drake. So let's address the elephant in the room. I am not what you would call a Drake fan. I consider his music, especially lately, to be incredibly low effort, just trying to pander to the lowest common denominator possible. Obviously, there's no doubt that this guy knows how to write a hook, and I wouldn't even call most of his music like egregiously bad or anything. I just find it boring. Now let's clear some things up, because I know I made some enemies by saying that just now. Or me not enjoying Drake's music doesn't mean that you can. I don't know why everyone takes it as like some sort of fucking personal attack when I say that he's not in my top 5, 10, or 15. There's like a lot of people who think that I say this to like be some sort of contrarian or to be some sort of hater. Honestly, I don't care enough about anybody to hate on them. So the thing is, when people say this, no one ever considers that each artist, regardless of how universal you think their appeal is, still has a target audience at the end of the day. I just don't happen to be in Drake's. You might think I'm jumping the gun here and getting defensive, but these are conversations I've had to have with people, especially being from the Toronto area and having gone to school down there. You kind of have to love this guy if you're from the Toronto area, or otherwise you're kind of just going to get bullied for it. So that being said, I did pretty thoroughly enjoy Take Care. If you're reading this, it's too late, and Nothing Was the Same. And you know, you're here for an album review, and since I'm still establishing credibility here, I'll briefly go over the way that I consume albums, and with that, maybe you'll start to understand my perspective when it comes to Drake's music. I might go into more detail about this someday, but here it is in a nutshell. I enjoy albums in a vacuum. What does that mean? Well, I like listening to an album from front to back. I like treating it like one large piece, one narrative structure, one flowing piece and body of work. The less inclined I am to skip a song in an album or cut the album off early, the better it is to me. Why? Because much like our favorite movie or TV series, I want to observe the entire show. Would Attack on Titan be as good if you just watched the fight scenes? Would Breaking Bad be as good if you just watched them cooking meth? No, there's other moving parts involved. There's a whole bigger picture involved in the making of any sort of art. So I treat an album like a front to back experience. The world and build-up matter just as much as the payoff. Now, is this a perfect way to view albums? Of course not. I mean, most artists in this day and age especially don't really give a fuck about flow, build-up, track list, etc. But I do. That's how I consume my albums. That's it. I have a short attention span, so keeping it is an accomplishment. And because of this attention span, I also love attention to detail. I like being able to sit with an album, think about it, immerse myself in it, and find new things and details that I wouldn't have found on my first listen. You know, obviously, like, I still have a playlist that I rotate on the regular. I'm not just constantly listening to an album front to back, and that's the only way I listen to music. But to me, the hallmark of a good artist is being able to make a full, good album. So I'll still add good songs to a playlist and shuffle it, but my deepest enjoyment of music is within this format. And that brings me to my problem with Drake's music, which is that I find the appeal of his full-bodied works to be on the shallower side. It'll grab me, but it won't keep me in for that long. Look, at the end of the day, Drake makes music to play at clubs, which I don't go to, and he makes music for single people who are living out their horniest years, which I am not. All it really boils down to is that it just doesn't scratch the itches for me that my favorite albums do. Furthermore, his recent output has been especially weak to me. Scorpion was a snooze fest from the first track to the last. CLB was slightly less boring than watching 8 a.m. traffic reports, and Honestly Nevermind tried something new, but it felt very focus grouped and sanitary. It just did not feel like Drake's heart was in this project. So was I expecting any new Drake release to appeal to me? Not really. Was I pleasantly surprised when Her Loss by Drake featuring 21 Savage was actually pretty good? Yes. Right off the bat, Drake and 21 hit us with some great tone setters in Rich Flex and Major Distribution. These two both sound hungry, energetic, and animated. Drake's flows and rhyme schemes are clean and impressive all throughout, and the beat switches add a lot of character to these songs. The business office refrain from Drake and Major Distribution was especially a highlight for me. On BS is pretty good too, with Drake and 21 finishing each other's lines with the same energy as the first two tracks. Back Outside Boys was nice and colorful, although I'm surprised to not hear a Lil Baby feature on here. I really feel like he could have gotten a lot of mileage out of this beat. I especially love the hook on here. So yeah, I'm complimenting the album quite a bit, surprise surprise, but unfortunately the highs are interrupted by a pretty boring and underwhelming mid section. Emphasis on mid. Privileged Rappers is okay lyrically and flow wise, but I don't find that Drake brings a lot of energy to this track, and the beat is kind of one note and boring as well. Spin About You brings the energy back a little bit with the sample driven beat, which is a nice addition, but it unfortunately cannot make up for the absolute snooze fest that follows with Hours in Silence. Oh my fucking god, this song is terrible. The hook is absolutely grating. The hook is absolutely grating, but even furthermore, the switch at the end somehow goes from kind of bad and boring to really bad and really boring. Drake just aimlessly croons into the mic for another 4 minutes. Who okayed this shit? He said wham bam thank you ma'am in a song. Why would you say that, bro? Treacherous Twins is also just boring and uneventful from front to back. Literally the only memorable thing about this song is 21's line where he says, I don't show ID at clubs because they know that I'm 21. It's like literally the only part of the song that I remember. Circle Loco was okay, but the Daft Punk sample was really forced. But I don't think removing the sample would have saved the song from being boring anyways. It's just a little bit more cringe because of that one. Thankfully though, we get back to real enjoyment with Pussy and Millions. Probably the best song on here. What can I say about this song that hasn't been said already? The sample is so luscious, and both Drake and 21's voicings perfectly match this instrumental. This is certainly a highlight reel for both artists on this album. Drake's sung vocals are so catchy, the flows are so clean and polished, the hook is so memorable, and are there like strings in the background of the sample? I don't know whoever added them, whether it's the original sample or the producer. Whoever did, you're a genius. Really good addition to this track. I originally didn't find the Travis feature on here to be that necessary, but it grew on me quite a bit, and it's a nice change of pace. Maybe that switch up saved the song from getting stale. Who knows? Next up is Broke Boys, which is an absolute fucking banger. The instrumental sounds so mean and confident, and Drake and 21 both absolutely glide on this beat. They complement each other so well. 21 in particular sounds absolutely menacing on here with some great quotables like 2 sticks in my hand like I'm playing a Wii. The first half of the song is just amazing. I love heavy bangers like this. But the second half does introduce a problem. It's like they had 2 like 1.5 minute demos of a song and they were like completely unalike to each other in sound and flow and tempo and all that shit. And they're like, you know, let's make it a 2-parter. And they just jam the 2 together and they're like, yeah, fuck it, this is a song now. This is a full 4-minute song. And the thing is, I'm glad that there's beat switches on this album. I think there's a lot of songs on here that have great beat switches. I'm glad that these songs exist in pockets, but if you keep changing direction so sharply in a song, that switch needs to be earned. Making big changes abruptly in the middle of the song runs the risk of a song having a good half and a bad half, and doing it frequently on an album can become a lot more tiring than the runtime allows. So yeah, that's to say I didn't much enjoy the second half of Broke Boys. I found it kind of generic, and I definitely like the first half of it more. It's just kind of middle of the road and doesn't follow up the monstrous first half that well. Now, to contradict what I said like 10 seconds ago, Middle of the Ocean has a great beat switch, but the difference is here, it's not too sudden or jarring, and Drake's energy and rhyme schemes are stellar from front to back, so it really justifies his beat switch and adds a lot of character to it. I really like the line, I'm like a cup holder, the way that these dimes stick to me. They should have been in the fountain based on what y'all wish in me. That's very on brand for Drake to make a line like this. The last few tracks are an alright but underwhelming set of songs to end the album with. 3 AM on Glenwood has an okay performance from 21, but I find the drums really annoying on here. Jumbotron Shit Poppin' is kind of one note and doesn't really go anywhere, and the rest are just not memorable compared to the other much more substantial highlights that are on display on the first half of the album. So yeah, that's the album. Overall, this album actually impressed me quite a bit. It's not making me the #1 Drake fan or anything, but I really think Drake's in his bag here. I'm feeling some real If You're Reading This energy on here from his confidence, his cadences, and the conciseness of the material on here in a lot of parts. 21 also does his thing on here, although he's definitely more of a supporting artist than a co-writer, kind of like what I was saying. You know, they had some demos and they're just like, okay, how do we just turn this into a full song? Okay, Drake doesn't know how to write past this point. Let's just have 21 come in and fill in the gaps. That being said, 21 is no slouch on this album. He has a lot of great quotables. Here are some to name a few. Make an IG model an IG model run my errands. I'm wiping my dick with her bra. There's a lot more, but these are just some of them. Now, where does the album fall flat? Well, the incessant beat switches make the album feel a lot longer and a lot less polished in some areas. 21 seems to kind of just hop into areas where Drake couldn't really finish the demo, and in general, I just find that the chemistry here could have been dialed up a little bit more in other parts of the album. The midsection and the last few tracks are also pretty underwhelming, and the album would have just been better if they were cut entirely, but maybe I'm in the minority with that opinion. And also Drake said some shit about this being like part of a trilogy where it was like, oh, I used to be a certified lover boy, but honestly, never mind. It was her loss. And here are my thoughts on that. No. So overall, what do I as a pretentious album snob have to say about this album? Well, like I said in the Mr. Morale review, this album isn't competing in the same race as a concept album or a lyrical miracle album, so it would be dumb to treat it as such. If you just want some fun bangers to turn off your brain to, but not too much, this album will certainly have something for you. It suffers a little bit when you play it in order, but I suppose that's not really the point of an album like this. Honestly, you just take whatever you like out of this album, add it to your playlist, and the rest of the album fucks off for an eternity. That's pretty much all you can ask for. Either way, I would love to see another collab between these two, give them a few more albums, and I could really see them coming into their own as a certified duo. I think Drake is several levels above 21 in popularity to run like a circuit of joint albums, but I would love to hear more from these two in general. A man can only wish, I guess. That being said, I'm feeling a 6 out of 10 on Her Loss. Good job. Yeah, so that's been the review. Let me know what you thought of Her Loss. Let me know what you want me to review next. I'm kind of open to doing whatever at this point. This was a fashionably late review for Her Loss, but whatever. I liked this album enough. I wanted to talk about it before everyone forgets about it next year. So yeah, if you enjoyed the review, give this video a like. You could subscribe to the channel. I'm also on Instagram at Hamlet's Treasury. I also make music. I go by King Hamlet on Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of shit. All the links will be down in the description below. But yeah, that being said, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. See ya.